so South Yorkshire County Association of Trades Councils, it's really clear, isn't it? This is an attack on working class people, and in particular on working class women. You know, the fact is that austerity kills, you know, and we're all here because we're socialists, we stand with the oppressed, and I think, you know, women who are oppressed, who are working class, really, really do deserve our support. As Amy's already said, you know, it is disgusting that a Labour council is putting pressure on the trustees to do this service down. You know, the Labour council really should be ashamed of itself. People have talked about sectarianism. Well, actually, you know, if people in power, whether it's a Labour council or a Tory one, are doing the wrong thing, if they are closing down services, we have to call them out. You know, it's not whether they are red or whether they're blue, it's they are doing, you know, the work of the Tory government. So we really do need to call them out. We need to demand that this service stays. We need to demand that Louise is reinstated. This is a travesty that she's been, you know, dismissed from her job at a time when domestic violence is on the increase in Doncaster. It's never been needed more. Austerity is biting harder and harder, and the council are just turning their back on it. And this idea that, you know, a lottery can fund women's aid is just disgusting. You know, that should be state funded. It shouldn't be a PR campaign, you know, nice fluffy, oh, let's do something for the women of Doncaster like that. It should be, you know, this is what these women deserve. It is an entitlement, you know. So we really need to get behind this campaign. A similar thing, I guess, is happening in Sheffield, where we've got a council who are doing the wrong thing with Amy and the trees. You know, and we really need our elected members to come out and say what they think on these things. Louise Haigh latterly has done that. Rosie Winston should be here. She should be speaking up for Louise. Rosie Winston, apparently, yeah. Jeremy Corbyn and I know John McDonnell has sent his support, but they need to be calling out these Labour councils where they are doing the wrong thing. We've seen it in Haringey, where they're talking about the Haringey developmental vehicle, and Momentum have stepped in and said that needs to stop. This also needs to happen in South Yorkshire. We need our elected people to do what they were elected to do, which is to represent us, the working class. I've only got a couple more things to say. The trade unions really do need to support their workers. You know, the trade union movement was founded to support workers. A worker in struggle should have the support of all the unions. So I'm really glad to say my union, the National Education Union, is supporting Louise. Also Sheffield Trades Council and the South Yorkshire Trades Council, so Barnsley's here, Rotherham, Doncaster and Sheffield. We really need to stand together. Louise needs to be reinstated. We need to save women's aid, and we need to just really think, you know, we're in the 21st century, and let's start treating people the way that they deserve to be treated. Thank you.
You're right. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak today. And I speak in solidarity with Louise and the campaign to save South Yorkshire Women's Aid totally. The council have known about the funding for the Centre of the Women's Aid Service for over 2 years. They are implicitly responsible for not providing the funds and not providing the resources necessary to keep this service running. They are implicitly responsible for not planning for the following service needs, for providing the service needs and the future service needs and the future employment contracts of that service. Our sisters and friends in the service, supported and all support Lou Harrison, have shone through to keep that service going in the absence of that planning and funding from the council. They have been the funders of that service, they have been there for the women of Doncaster, and they have raised the funds that are required in the time of crisis. In the darkest hour of some women of this county and this town, they have been there in the time of crisis, and we respect and salute that. Yet despite this large burden on them, for raising their heads above the parapet, for raising the funds of the service, they have had their contracts cut back Louise Harrison has had her contract removed. Well, I tell you this. There are women there that are heroes. There are women there that have saved lives. There are women there that respect, who use the service, Louise Harrison and the volunteers. And the fight is on. The fight is on to keep that service going. And across the country, we need to be aiming that service, particularly because we're going to win a service for women's services throughout this country, not just in Doncaster, everywhere. You cannot confuse the provision of gender services, as we have learnt recently. You cannot confuse the provision of gender services and exclude women's services. It doesn't work, and it will put women's lives in danger. And all it does is help the austerity programme of this government. Solidarity from Women's Life Matter Barnsley. Thank you.
We haven't, the executive hasn't met recently, but I am able to bring you a message from the Regional Council of UCU, which reads as follows. Yorkshire and Humberside Regional Executive Committee of the University and College Union express our solidarity and support for the campaign Stand Up for Lou and the campaign's fight to secure funding for South Yorkshire Women's Aid. In circumstances where an average of 2 women are killed by husbands, partners and ex-partners each week in England and Wales, where 1 in 4 women will suffer domestic violence in her life, and where women in general are still subject to high levels of misogyny and sexist harassment in society, it is vital to maintain the sort of services and support offered by South Yorkshire Women's Aid to vulnerable women and children. We call on Doncaster Council to reinstate funding for the refuge and for the reinstatement of Louise Harrison's post, and for other funding agencies to similarly prioritise sufficient funding for the permanent support of South Yorkshire Women's Aid. And that's signed by Leslie McGorrigan, who's also an NEC member and is the Secretary of the region. So I just want to make a couple of points really. I've known Louise, gosh, it must be now 30 odd years, ever since the miners' strike. And I can say, without a shadow of a doubt, as I know most people here will agree, that Louise is a fantastic fighter for women and a fantastic fighter for her class. She has never given up, she's never stopped fighting, and frankly, when I've seen some of the stuff on Facebook attacking her for this campaign, it just turns my stomach, because she is a fighter, she knows what she's fighting. It's not about ego with Louise, it's about a service which people need in this area, and I think everybody should get behind Louise's campaign and get behind support for her. The other point I want to make really is that this isn't in a way about the money. It's not that there's no money available. Money is available. It's a question of political will. It's about the will to deliver money for services that we need. The money, as we know, is available because of an underspend. And if you look at society in general, we know the bloody money's there. You know, we live in a society where inequality is growing, where, 14 people earn as much or have as much wealth as 3.7 billion people in the world. It's an obscene system. We just saw last week the disgusting misogyny that took place at the President's Club, Social. These are the richest people who go along and end up groping women, raising millions of pounds or thousands of pounds, but actually, abusing and harassing women in the process. The money is there. We know the money is there to defend our services. This is a vital service which needs to be defended and needs to be funded. So I just want to say, I should also make a big plug. I think that when people stand together, you can win. Just this week, for instance, the Haringey, I don't know if you know what's been going on in London, but there's been a really appalling attempt to drive working class people out of Haringey. And it looks now, partly with the intervention of the Labour leadership, that campaign is going to win. This campaign can win because when you fight, when you stand up, people get behind you, people support you, people want to see people fighting back. We've just won a fantastic vote in our union, in the universities, to defend our pensions. We got an 87% vote in 61 of the 68 universities to strike, and those strikes are going to start in February. We want to support this sort of campaign. We need to get together. We need to fight. When we fight back as trade unionists, when we fight back as community activists, we can build the campaigns that can win, that can force these people who hold the purse strings to change their political decisions whether or not to finance fantastic things like South Yorkshire Women Aid and other services and support that we need. We have to stand together. We can't wait until whenever a Labour government is elected. I hope a Labour government is elected soon. You can't wait for 2 or 3 or years or however long it takes to get them in. We have to start now. We have to fight. We have to stand together. It's our strength that will win. Solidarity to Louise, solidarity to South Yorkshire Women's Aid. Thank you.
Branch in Sheffield, and I've been defending Louise at the hearings that have taken place. And first of all, I want to congratulate the Women's Life Matter campaign for a fantastic campaign that really has spread wide across the country, that people know that people are fighting for an essential service, not just in Doncaster but for the whole of South Yorkshire. And we've heard a lot of stuff about abusive behaviour by men, the Harvey Weinstein case, the President's Club, but this is the nub end of it. This is the result of women's oppression that means that women suffer from domestic abuse. 2 women die every day at the hands of their abusive partners, and there's no doubt that there are greater abuses taking place in places that austerity has destroyed the lives of people, because more violence grows where there is greater austerity taking place. In places like Doncaster, where they desperately need a women's aid service, I think it's an absolute scandal that really this service is being deprived of funding. And to be honest, 30 grand is an absolute pittance for any council. It's nothing. They could find that quite easily. Yes. It is a political decision not to support South Yorkshire's Women's Aid, and I think they should hang their bloody heads in shame for what they're doing, really.
Damn right! Shame on them!
I'll tell you, I'm sick of Labour councils that have been elected by ordinary people who want to see something better, then implementing cuts in jobs and services. We've seen it across the country. It's almost like a scorched earth policy where we have no services left. And that's why it's so important that we support campaigns like this, where people are standing up and fighting back against an injustice that's taking place. So I think it's fantastic we've done. And I want to say something about Louise as well, because to be honest, she's the person who founded this service. This nonsense that's talked about her wanting to do it over and it being about ego is complete and utter nonsense. She has fought tooth and nail to keep this service in Doncaster, and for her to be rewarded by her contract not being renewed is again an absolute disgrace, and that's why we have to support her. And don't listen to this nonsense that's being said about her. They are making it up. She is a dedicated woman who believes passionately that women's aid is necessary and that she needs to support the women in this city, in this town, who need her support. So I think we need to support her every inch of the way. Okay. So I salute the hard work that she's done, and I'll tell you, even the trustees said that the campaign that's been launched here raised sufficient money to make sure that the service could run till June. Is it right then to get rid of the key worker inside there? I don't believe so. So we need to continue to fight and campaign. We want reinstatement of Louise Harrison. Thank you.
Be here today, but unfortunately she has two other events today that she has to be at. But she sends her wholehearted support, Louise, and she will be here when we are here again. So we're here, South Yorkshire Women's Aid, the one service of its kind left in South Yorkshire now, and it's fighting to continue to exist. In times of austerity, we are told that there isn't any money. Working class people are left with food banks, school cuts, a struggling NHS, and children come to school and have their only hot meal of the day. People die, and we hear of the President's Club, a clique of men who think they can treat women as a commodity, and it doesn't matter because they're rich and powerful. We all stand here today to save South Yorkshire Women's Aid and defend Louise Harrison. We defend a service that's desperately needed and one that should not and cannot be closed. 2 women are murdered a week by their partners. Those who do not fund this service will have blood on their hands.
I'm usually ready to go.
Great work.
I come with the particular thing that disabled women are particularly vulnerable against domestic abuse. I'm going to preface this story that I'm going to tell you with the fact that this young lady got out of this marriage and got divorced, and it's well now. But she had a condition called hypermobility that meant she joints dislocated quite easily. And her bastard and her husband used to deliberately dislocate her ribs so she couldn't get out of the house. This is why we need, and this is in Barnsley, this is why we need a women's aid in every town, not just Doncaster. And she needed especially so, without no social care on it as well. So not only does it affect women's aid, but it also affects adult social care that it's practically non-existent. I'm a female and Asian legend, so my response is, we shall overcome.
So it all goes in
someday.
It is so one, and just this like it
Comrades.
From the RMT Transport Union, organiser for them from Doncaster, who's been a big supporter of Louise and the campaign, was supposed to be speaking today, but unfortunately he's gone down with the dreaded lurgy, so he sent me a message to read out to you. I'm happy if you can read a statement out from me to apologise for not being able to make it, and to say that I personally fully support Louise Harrison and South Yorkshire Women's Aid, and that I send fraternal greetings from all at the RMT. We recognise that women always bear the brunt of cuts of any kind, and we are right there with you in the fight to change that. Yet again, in this instance, Labour councillors have got it badly wrong. Yet again, total radio silence from See No, Hear No and Speak No, Winterton, Flint and Miliband. We need real socialists in local and national governments, genuine caring representatives of the people who are not in office purely for personal gain. In our own industry, the removal of guards on trains will hit women the most. The increase in off-peak fares will hit women the most, as the main user of this tariff are part-time workers, and the majority of part-time workers are women. We strive for full equality. During my past time serving on our National Executive Committee, only one woman was part of that body. For the first time, For the first time in our history, we have just had 2 women serve together for the last 3-year term. I look forward to the day when we have a female president, female full-time officers, and a female General Secretary. Apologies once again for not being there in person. We are with you all the way and will continue to stand shoulder to shoulder to you in this struggle. Cheers.
About why we have come to bring solidarity to Louise and this fantastic campaign today. I have been involved in a lifelong struggle for women's rights and issues, and a co-founder with List T for the Save Liverpool Women's Hospital campaign and an NHS campaigner. I'm co-chair of Liverpool Against the Cuts. I was one of the leaders of the poll tax as a councillor. I was suspended as a councillor because I refused to pour shit over the heads of other working class people. I was involved in the Lancashire pit strike and helped to set up some of the women's support groups. My sister-in-law led and was victimised at the Lady at Lord John sexual harassment case to get that organised in a union in the middle of Liverpool town centre. I helped to found a national campaign called Campaign Against Domestic Violence. I'm a member still of the Women of the Waterfront of the Dockers strike in Liverpool, and a member of Left Unity. I am here to support Louise and all the campaigns against domestic abuse and for women's rights. And I just want to explain briefly, this is a long line of tradition and struggle. And Mary Beard, the historian on the telly, explains that repression of women goes right back to classical period. And ever since then, every woman who stood up, every group of women who stood up to challenge the system, the rebel women have been told, you're mad, you're out of order, behave. We do not behave. We do not bow to the system. We stand up and fight. There are millions of women fighting across the world as we speak. There have been strikes of Polish women against reaction to take abortion rights away. There are women all over South America and Latin America. Indian women went on strike against rape on buses and in public and in private. The Chartists early trade union women organisers, women levellers, the suffragettes were all labelled as troublemakers. But these women and all the unsung heroes of class struggle helped to get our rights, which are now being taken away. And as people have said, austerity, not just in this country, but all over the globe, is trying to take away every gain that women, along with working class men, have fought for. Not just in this country to take away the welfare state, but across the globe. And that is why 1% of the world's richest people now own 50% of the wealth, and they own more wealth now than they did in 2008. So we've paid for austerity, and women have paid for 80% of austerity. So while men have suffered from austerity, it's been a lot about directed at women and children, and that's why the refuges are going, the libraries are going, public services are going, and the health service is going. And we know that misogyny, discrimination, sexual violence is being used as a weapon all around the world to carry out that austerity agenda. We've seen Trump. We've also seen in Greece the destruction of women's services, health service, a massive increase in sexual violence, and women turning to prostitution because of desperation. The pay gap is widening, our wages are crap, our conditions are crap, and things are getting worse. But people have shown they're willing to fight, and we must defend everything and hold in everything we have. And that's why we support this campaign, and that's why for 3 years we fought to save Liverpool Women's Hospital, a specialist women's hospital that has services from genetics, IVF, maternity, obs and gynae, right through to the end of life. Because we know this hospital is part of the agenda, as we see the National Maternity Review, part of the agenda of the £22 billion worth of health service cuts that are being implemented as we speak. And we've had this campaign for nearly 3 years and staved off the closure of that hospital, and we will keep fighting. And that's why as well, I would urge you to support the Day of Action on the Health Service on February the 3rd, because all these struggles link together. We want NHS and public services, fund them now, the money's there, the billionaires have the money. We want our share of it. We want to end the system where billionaires can decide. We'll have a charity night and give you a few crumbs and grope the women that are there to entertain us, so-called. But also, we have to stop these cuts. We have to stop the SDPs, the ACOs, the ACSs, and all these ridiculous initials that mean break up and destroy the NHS. And we've also got to stop Labour councils pretending that these initials or another set of initials do not mean the break-up of the NHS. We have a Labour council in Liverpool, yes, a Labour council, pretending that they've got a name and it's not an ACS, it's not one of these organisations to break up the NHS. These Labour councils are delusional, they're in denial, and we say no collusion with the enemy. If you want to stand and represent people, represent them, don't sell them down the river. The same Labour councils are the ones like in Liverpool, dishing out the dirt on ordinary people, dishing out the cuts. They're not even willing to organise a mass campaign to explain what is going on and build a movement from below. And other people, have said, that people are prepared to fight, and there have been some gains. We've got to bring all those campaigns together to defend and hold what we have, but also to change the world we live in. And at the start of the previous century, the start of the 20th century, there was a group of women textile workers in America whose average living age, they lived till the average of 26 years old. And they organised to get in a trade union. And they said, their slogan was, we want bread, but we want roses too. And I say, if you want to change the world, stand with the women.